আসসালামু আলাইকুম ভিউয়ার্স, কেমন আছেন সবাই? আশা করি ভালো আছেন। আজকের এই ভিডিওতে আমরা বিসিএস প্রিলিমিনারি অ্যানালাইসিস বই থেকে 287টি এমসিকিউ পড়ব। আর এই বইটি মূলত লিখেছেন গাজী মিজানুর রহমান স্যার। আপনাদের যদি বিসিএস প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছেন এবং অল্প সময়ে প্রিপারেশন নিতে চান তাহলে এই বইটি দেখতে পারেন। আমি অলরেডি বইটি একবার রিভাইজ দিয়েছি, খুবই ভালো। একবার পড়ে আরেকবার রিভাইজ দিয়েছি, খুবই ভালো, আপনারা চাইলে দেখতে পারেন। আর এই ভিডিওটিতে আমরা ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের উপর 287টি কোশ্চেন দেখব এবং যারা বিসিএস প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছেন এবং অন্যান্য সরকারি প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছেন, সরকারি চাকরি প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছেন, তাদের জন্য খুবই হেল্পফুল হবে এবং এখান থেকে আপনি অনেকগুলো কোশ্চেন কমন পাবেন। যেহেতু বইটি খুবই ভালো এবং আমি অলরেডি নিজে পড়েছি, সো ভালো বলে আমি বলছি। যদি আপনাদের বিসিএস এ মোস্ট অফ দ্য কোশ্চেন কমন পেতে চান তাহলে এই বইটিতে ট্রাই করতে পারেন। আর অবশ্যই আপনারা ভিডিওটি না টেনে শেষ পর্যন্ত দেখতে থাকুন। যারা ফেসবুক পেজ থেকে দেখছেন, পেজটিকে ফলো করবেন। ফেসবুক পেজ এবং ইউটিউব চ্যানেলে চোখ রাখবেন, লেটেস্ট আপডেটগুলো পেয়ে যাবেন। আমি নিয়মিত সরকারি চাকরির আপডেট, চাকরির যে সার্কুলার দেয় সেগুলা এবং বিসিএস রিলেটেড এবং সরকারি চাকরির বিভিন্ন প্রিপারেশনের ভিডিও দিয়ে যাব। সো আপনারা অবশ্যই সাথে থাকবেন এবং ভিডিওগুলো রেগুলার দেখে যাবেন। চলুন শুরু করা যাক। সো আমরা আজ শুরু করতে যাচ্ছি ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের এমসিকিউ দিয়ে। আমরা শুরু করছি, হু ইজ দ্য ফাদার অব মডার্ন ইংলিশ পোয়েট্রি? Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer is the father of modern English poetry. Renaissance means rebirth. Renaissance means revival of learning. From the both option is correct, or the both option is correct, you can say. So Renaissance means rebirth and Renaissance means revival of learning. In Bengali, Nobojagaron. Elizabethan tragedy is centered on revenge. Actually, Elizabethan tragedy is centered on revenge. Question 5 এ দেখতে পাচ্ছি, which period is known as the golden age of English literature in the following list? The Elizabethan is called the golden age of English literature. So these questions are very important. So if you don't understand it the first time, so you can replay the video and watch it again. Who wrote the plays The Tempest and The Midsummer Night's Dream? Obviously it is written by William Shakespeare, or both of them are written by William Shakespeare. Number 7, Julius Caesar was the ruler of Rome about 2000 years ago. Shakespeare is known mostly for his plays. You know, Shakespeare has a lot of plays that are very famous and popular. The next question, that is, which of the following is a play by Shakespeare? Among the four options, you see King Lear is written by William Shakespeare. Number 10, William Shakespeare was an English dramatist and poet of 16th century. You know, William Shakespeare was born in 1564 and died in 1660. William Shakespeare is the author of Antony and Cleopatra. Twelfth Night is a comedy. Macbeth is a play which is not true of an English sonnet. It has 14 syllables in each line. That is not correct, and the rest of the options are correct. Let's see. It has 14 lines. So this is correct. In sonnet, English sonnet, there are 14 lines. It has 5 feet in each line. In English sonnet, there will be 5 feet in each line. And the third option, or D, that is, it is written in iambic pentameter lines. Yes, that is true. So among the 4 options, only the option B is not right or is not true, and the rest of the option like A, C and D are correct. William Shakespeare is a famous dramatist or playwright. The poem Under the Greenwood Tree was written by William Shakespeare. The poem Under the Greenwood Tree was written by William Shakespeare. So this is very important, keep in mind, or watch the video with patience and carefully. Who is the greatest dramatist of all times? Obviously it is William Shakespeare. He is the greatest dramatist and playwright of all times, which is known as Shakespeare's swan song. You know, The Tempest is called the swan song of William Shakespeare. So it is very important, and almost or most of the exams you will see that. To be or not to be, that is the question. From which novel the above sentence has been taken? Actually this is taken from Hamlet, and this was spoken by Hamlet. To be sure, who is the killer of his father? One of the flowing plays is not a tragedy. Tempest. Again, one of the flowing plays is not a tragedy. The Tempest is not a tragedy. Tempest is a play but not tragedy. Shakespearean play consists of 5 acts. You see, Shakespearean play consists of 5 acts. Shakespeare lived during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. So keep in mind, Elizabeth I means Elizabeth I, and this is this sentence is talking about Queen Elizabeth I, and Shakespeare lived during the reign of Elizabeth I. Which of the following is the greatest work of Shakespeare? You know, Hamlet is very popular and greatest work of William Shakespeare. The Fairy Queen is an epic. This is also very important question. This has been on the question paper many times. You see, The Fairy Queen is an epic. So if you watch this video carefully, you will get most of the questions common in your BCS exams or other exams, because these questions are very important, and these are repeated in many exams. Shakespeare was famous for all but one of the following bourgeois drama. Shakespeare was famous for all but one of the following bourgeois drama. Dr. Faustus was written by Christopher Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe is Shakespeare's contemporary. A great playwright of Shakespeare's time was Christopher Marlowe. Who is the father of English prose? So this is also an important question. Even all the questions from this video you will see important, and you will see in common most of the exams, because these are very selective questions and repeated questions in different exams. So who is considered to be the father of English prose? That is Kind Alfred the Great. This will be actually King Alfred the Great. So this is printing mistake or typing mistake, so this will be King Alfred the Great. Okay, let's move on the next question, which is expressed the view that there is a divinity that shapes our ends. In Hamlet. So the view is in from Hamlet, that is, there is a divinity that shapes our ends. Who wrote an epic, The Fairy Queen? The Fairy Queen was written by Edmund Spenser. Who wrote The Ruins of Time? The Ruins of Time was written by Edmund Spenser. Who wrote an apology for poetry? Sir Philip Sidney wrote an apology for poetry. Which of the following schools of literature is connected with a medical theory? Actually, comedy of errors is connected with, again, comedy of humors is connected with medical theory. Silent Woman, written by Ben Jonson. Silent Women was written by Ben Jonson. So question 36, we see, I wandered lonely as a cloud is an example of simile. So when you will see like or as in a sentence, and that is comparing with something, and there is used like or as, there you will fix it as simile, or you will think that that is simile. So in simile you will see like or as in the sentence. Into daffodils, human life is compared with morning's dew. The poem Into daffodils, human life is compared with morning's dew. Who is not called the metaphysical poet? From these four options, John Donne is a metaphysical poet. George Herbert is also metaphysical poet. Andrew Marvell also metaphysical poet. So from the three options like A, B and C, all are metaphysical poet. Only the option D is not metaphysical poet. So here Alfred Tennyson is not metaphysical poet, but the above three like A, John Donne, metaphysical poet, Andrew Marvell, metaphysical poet, George Herbert, metaphysical poet. Only the option D is not metaphysical poet, that is Alfred Tennyson. So let's move on the next questions. So watch the video carefully so that you will have all the questions common in your examination and you will be able to answer it perfectly. And if you don't understand first time watching this, then replay the video and watch it again. I hope it will be memorized to you and it will be clear to you. Who was a friend of John Milton? Actually, Andrew Marvell was a friend of John Milton. Who wrote the poem The Sun Rising. The Sun Rising was written by John Donne. The Sun Rising was written by John Donne, who is called the poet of love. John Donne is called the poet of love. So poet of love is John Donne. He is called poet of love. The Flea by John Donne is a religious poem. The Flea by John Donne is a religious poem. So keep in mind, the Flea is a religious poem that is written by John Donne. This is also a very important question, but this time this has been expressed here in a different way. See, to be or not to be, that is the question. So here in the gap there will be question, and when to be or not to be, where it has been taken from. So there you will see Hamlet. Okay, so moving on the next question. Frailty, thy name is woman. In which of the following plays you find this? Actually, from the play Hamlet, this has been taken, that frailty, thy name is woman. Frailty, thy name is women. In which of the following plays if you find this? You will see it on Hamlet. Sweets are the uses of adversity was stated by Shakespeare. To be or not to be, that is the question, is the beginning of a famous soliloquy from Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question. And you see a term soliloquy, and soliloquy is a term that is used in English literature to express when someone speaks alone in front of audience, but there will no audience in the stage. Even there is audience in, but they will be silent, and obviously the speaker will speak along. Reading maketh a fool man, conference a ready man, writing an exact man. Who said this? So Bacon was a essayist, and from his essay, reading maketh a fool man, conference a ready man, writing an exact man. Who said this? So this has been said by Bacon. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested, said by Francis Bacon. So this Francis Bacon was an essayist, or is an essayist, and you see this quote were taken from the essay of Francis Bacon. Veni vidi vici, this quotation from Shakespeare, Julius Caesar. This is also very important question and has been common in most of the exam. You see, Veni vidi vici, that means আসলাম দেখলাম জয় করলাম in Bengali. So this has been quoted from Shakespeare, Julius Caesar. Cowards die many times before their death is quoted from Julius Caesar. All the perfumes of Arabian will not be sweetened these little hands is quotation from Macbeth. Macbeth is a play or drama that has been written by William Shakespeare. When Macbeth and Lady Macbeth killed the prince, then they were realizing and they were hallucinating the killing of prince. So from the hallucination they were said, all the perfumes of Arabian will not be sweeten this little hand. They were seeing, or they were hallucinating blood in their hand. So they said, all the perfumes of Arabia will not be sweeten this little hand is a quotation from Macbeth. Okay, so who said cowards die many times before their death? It was said by Shakespeare in Julius Caesar. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are deemed of in our philosophy. So this has been taken from Hamlet. Again, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are deemed of in our philosophy. That is taken from Hamlet, written by Shakespeare. Who wrote the Spanish tragedy? Thomas Kyd wrote the Spanish tragedy. The Merchant of Venice is a Shakespearean play about a Jew. The Merchant of Venice is a Shakespearean play about a Jew. So the Merchant of Venice is a play about a Jew. Merchant of Venice, keep in mind, Merchant of Venice is a play about a Jew. Frailty, thy name is Oman is a famous dialogue from Shakespeare. Shakespeare's Measure for Measure is a successful comedy. Fill in the blank. Dash is a Shakespeare's last play. Obviously the Tempest. Tempest is called the swan song of William Shakespeare. So this is the last play of William Shakespeare. Who said written? Okay, who has written the play Volpone? Volpone. Volpone actually written by Ben Jonson. Shakespeare composed much of his plays in what sort of verses? Actually, he composed all of the much of his plays in iambic pentameter. So keep in mind, Shakespeare composed much of his plays in iambic pentameter. So moving on the next page, Othello gave Desdemona a handkerchief as a token of love. When a speaker speaks his thought aloud, it is called soliloquy. See what I said a few minutes ago. When a speaker speaks aloud, that is soliloquy. Comedy does not have a light play with a happy ending. Comedy does not have a light play with a happy ending. You see, there is a term protagonist. Actually, protagonist indicates the leading character or actor in a play. Like you see a hero or heroine in the movie or in the play. So the leading character who dominates the whole play who dominates the whole drama, that is called protagonist. Now moving on the next question, that is melodrama. Melodrama is a kind of play of violent and sensational theme. Melodrama is a kind of play about violent and sensational theme. What is catastrophe? The tragic end of dramatic events. Catastrophe is a tragic end of dramatic events. Actually, this is not the appropriate meaning, but if we say when we put something in the play that brings the ending of the play, or that speed up the play, that is catastrophe. In Bengali, if we say যেটা আপনার প্লের এন্ডিংটাকে বা ড্রামাটিক ইভেন্টটাকে খুব ত্বরান্বিত করে, ইউ সি ইন সায়েন্টিফিক ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ, ইন সায়েন্স, যারা সায়েন্সে পড়েছেন তারা জানেন যে ক্যাটাস্ট্রফি হচ্ছে এমন একটা জিনিস যেটা বিক্রিয়াকে ত্বরান্বিত করে। ঠিক তেমনি আমাদের ড্রামা বা ট্রাজিক ইভেন্ট বা একটা ড্রামাটিক ইভেন্ট যেটার ট্রাজিক ইভেন্টটাকে খুব ত্বরান্বিত করে, সেটা হচ্ছে ক্যাটাস্ট্রফি. So that is similar to the tragic end of dramatic events. Okay, that is fine. Climax is related to drama. Climax is related to drama. Who among the following playwright is Shakespeare's contemporary? Actually, Christopher Marlowe was a contemporary of Shakespeare, and he was also a playwright. Shakespeare was even we say some critics said that Christopher Marlowe and Shakespeare are the same person, and Shakespeare wrote in the disguise of Christopher Marlowe. Actually, we don't know the exact what is the difference between about who is really Christopher Marlowe, but some critics says that Shakespeare wrote in the disguise of Christopher Marlowe. But we are not sure about this. That was also a concept, and this was just a thinking of critics, but not sure. অর্থাৎ অনেকে বলতো বা অনেক ক্রিটিক্স বলতো যে এই ক্রিস্টোফার মার্লো এবং শেক্সপিয়ার একই ব্যক্তি, তার সমসাময়িক ছিল, কিন্তু একই ব্যক্তি, তিনি শেক্সপিয়ার এই ক্রিস্টোফার মার্লোর ছদ্মবেশে লিখতেন. হোয়াট এভার হ্যাপেন্স উই ডোন্ট নো, বাট আমাদের এটা জেনে দেখার দরকার। যদি যে মানে হু ওয়াজ সাপোজ টু বি দ্য was supposed to be the same person of শেক্সপিয়ার. সো এইভাবে যদি একটা কোশ্চেন করে যে কে শেক্সপিয়ারের ছদ্মবেশে লিখতে, মানে ক্রিস্টোফার মার্লোর ছদ্মবেশে কে লিখতেন শেক্সপিয়ার, এমনও হতে পারে যে ক্রিটিকের মতে ক্রিস্টোফার মার্লোর ছদ্মবেশে কে লিখতেন শেক্সপিয়ার, উইলিয়াম শেক্সপিয়ার। এটা মানে ক্রিটিকদের মতে, কিন্তু আসলে শিওর না যে আসলেই ওটা ইয়ে ছিল কিনা, এটা ক্রিটিকদের মতে, মানে ক্রিটিক যারা ছিল গবেষক তাদের মতে এটা, যে দুইজনের সেম ব্যক্তি, শুধু মানে শেক্সপিয়ার এই ক্রিস্টোফার মার্লো ছদ্মবেশে লিখতেন, but we don't sure about that, we are not sure about that. Okay, so let's move on the next question. Let's move on the next question, that is Shakespeare was not a story writer. Shakespeare is a playwright, Shakespeare is a dramatist, Shakespeare is a poet, but not a story writer. তিনি গল্প লেখক নয়, বা তিনি একজন নাট্যকার ছিলেন, তিনি একজন কবি ছিলেন, গদ্য লেখকও ছিলেন। ওকে, ইন শেক্সপিয়ার ট্র্যাজেডি, by Shakespearean tragedy, the hero is a high-ranking man. You see, in the Shakespearean play, hero always be from a high-ranking man. Ben Jonson introduced comedy of humors. So comedy of humors was introduced by Ben Jonson. Elegy written in a country churchyard is written by Thomas Gray. So this is very important question and repeated in many exams. So keep in mind and watch the video carefully so that you can memorize it by watching it. And if you don't understand the first time, then repeat the video, replay the video and watch it again. I hope it will be clear in the second time and it will be memorized in the second time. So keep watching this video carefully and keep learning from this. So elegy written in a country churchyard is written by Thomas Gray. Paradise Lost attempted to justify the ways of God to man, who wrote the famous poetic line, to err is human, to forgive is divine. Actually, when you will see the word divine is related to someone who is a pope or religious person, so you can assume, you can ensure that that has been written by someone who is religious person. So you can assume that, you can think that from the option you will correct that. So you see Alexander Pope, the right answer. So to err is human, to forgive is divine. So obviously this will be spoken by a religious person like Alexander Pope. Okay, let's move on the next question, that is better to reason in hell than serve in heaven. So this has been spoken by Satan in Paradise Lost. So এটা বাংলা হচ্ছে যে আমি জান্নাতে দাসত্ব করাচ্ছে, আমি জাহান্নামে কি করব, রাজত্ব করব। মানে জান্নাতে দাসত্ব করাচ্ছে, জাহান্নামে রাজত্ব করব, রাজত্ব করা ভালো, এটা বলছে কে? সেটান, শয়তানের কথা এটা। ওকে, সো আমরা যেহেতু ইংরেজি পড়ছি, আমরা বাংলা না বলি, সো আমরা ইংরেজিতে সবগুলোই পড়ি, দ্যাট উইল বি বেটার ফর both of us, but from the both parties. Okay, so moving on the next question, that is Paradise Lost is an epic poem. Again, Paradise Lost is an epic poem. Paradise Regained is an epic by John Milton. So Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained is written by John Milton. Who wrote Where Ignorance is Bliss is Fully to be Wise? That has been written by Thomas Gray. Again, who wrote Where Ignorance is Bliss, it is Fully to be Wise. It's written by Thomas Gray. Who wrote Gulliver's Travels? Gulliver's Travels is a satirical story that is written by Jonathan Swift. So that was very satirical. If you have not studied yet, you can get the summary from internet, and you can watch the read out the summary from Google about Gulliver's Travels, Jonathan Swift. Okay, moving on the next question, that is the first English dictionary was compiled by Samuel Johnson. See, Samuel Johnson composed the first English dictionary. The Romantic age began with the publication of Lyrical Ballad. You see, Lyrical Ballad was written by whom? Okay, you can comment that in the comment option. Who wrote Lyrical Ballad? Okay, you know, Lyrical Ballad was written by, I should not tell you that. I know, but I will not tell you. So put the comment who wrote the Lyrical Ballad. That is very or repeated questions in exams, are most common questions for exams. Who wrote Lyrical Ballad? Okay, so moving on the next question, who was the famous mock heroic poet in English literature? Alexander Pope, যিনি mock heroic poet বলা হয় ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের। A little learning is a dangerous thing, that is also from Alexander Pope. Who is considered to be the father of English novel? Actually, Henry Fielding was considered or is considered to be the father of English novel. So the right answer is Henry Fielding. So now I will discuss about most uncommon thing. See, the name is An Essay on Man is a poem, but see that this is very uncommon. An Essay on Man. An Essay on Man. মানুষের উপরে একটা রচনা. See, this is a poem. So this is very uncommon. So you have to remind it. You have to keep in mind that Alexander Pope's An Essay on Man is a poem. Who is the most famous satirist in English literature? So a few minutes ago I said that Jonathan Swift is the most famous satirist in English literature. Poet Alexander Pope's famous work, The Rape of the Lock. So The Rape of the Lock was a famous work of Alexander Pope. The Rape of the Lock was a famous work of poet Alexander Pope. The Victorian period was begun in 1832. The Victorian period was begun in 1832. Restoration period in English literature refers to 1660. An epic is based on heroic deeds performed by a hero. So an epic is based on heroic deeds performed by a hero. A canto is a division of an epic. Canto is a division of an epic. What is the meaning of the word dirge? You see, when someone dies and people laments for their going, for his going or for her going. See, when someone dies, people cries, people mourns, people feels grief, feels or expresses his grief through lamentation or mourning. That is called dirge. So actually one kind of song, like you see, the poem of জসীমউদ্দিন কবর। কবরের যে কবিতাটি আছে, দুই নয়নের ওই যে কি জানি একটা কবিতা আছে না, ওই কবিতাটা কিন্তু ডার্জের মধ্যে পড়ে। ডালিম গাছের তলে মনে আছে, ওই কবিতার লেভেন্টে ডার্জের মধ্যে পড়ে কবর কবিতাটি। ওইখানে তো দাদির কবর ডালিম গাছের তলে, এরকম একটা কবিতা আছে না, সেটা কবর। ওই কবিতাটি ইয়াতে ডার্জের মধ্যে পড়ে। হু ইজ, ওই কবিতাটি যখন ওই যে গান আকারে প্রকাশ করা হয় তখন কিন্তু এটা হচ্ছে ডার্জ, বা ওই যে মানে একটু সুর করে বলা হয়, বা কেউ মারা গেলে কিন্তু দেখবেন বাসায় কান্না করা হয় উচ্চ শব্দে, মানে মানে একটা মানে সুরের সাথে কিন্তু মানে প্রলাপ করে, সেটা হচ্ছে বা ল্যামেন্টেশন করে বা মর্ন করে, শোক প্রকাশ করে, কেঁদে কেঁদে সুরের মতো করে একটু মানে কান্না করে, সে কান্নাটাও ডার্জের মধ্যে পড়ে। Who is known as the father of the poet of nature in English literature? Actually William Wordsworth. Who is known as the poet of nature in English literature? ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের পোয়েট মানে পোয়েট অফ নেচার বলা হয় উইলিয়াম ওয়ার্ডসওয়ার্থকে। So William Wordsworth was called or is known as the poet of nature. The poem The Solitary Reaper is written by William Wordsworth. The Solitary Reaper is a poem and written by William Wordsworth. So W. Wordsworth means William Wordsworth. So moving on the next page, you see which of the following writers belong to the Romantic period in English literature? S.T. Coleridge was belong to Romantic period in English literature. So I can solve the question, that is I said to put on the comments that who wrote lyrical ballad. So you already have seen or have watched the name in the previous few question. One is William Wordsworth and the other is S.T. Coleridge. So both of them together wrote lyrical ballad. The Romantic age in English literature began with the publication of lyrical ballads. Ballad is a kind of short narrative poem. Ballad is a kind of short narrative poem. Child is the father of man is taken from the poem of William Wordsworth. Child is the father of man. So this is a very important question. Even in Bengali you see ঘুমিয়ে আসে শিশুর পিতা সব শিশুর অন্তরে, something like that. Child is the father of man, মানে আজকের শিশু হচ্ছে আগামী দিনের পিতা, is taken from the poem of William Wordsworth. So এটারই ভাবাপন্ন হচ্ছে ওই যে ঘুমিয়ে আসে সবার পিতা সব শিশুর অন্তরে, একটা কথা আছে না, ওইরকমই সিমিলার। The year 1798 is famous for publication of lyrical ballad. So the year 1798 is famous for the publication of lyrical ballad, and this lyrical ballad was written by William Wordsworth, and another one is here you see S.T. Coleridge. So William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge, both of them together wrote lyrical ballads in 1798. So actually this is Romantic period starts, you see 1798 is starting of Romantic period. So Romantic period starts with the publication of lyrical ballad by William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge, and that was written by 1798. And the Romantic period belongs to starts from 1798 and ends in 1832. So keep in mind 1798 থেকে 1832 পর্যন্ত হচ্ছে রোমান্টিক পিরিয়ড, এবং এই সময়ে 1798 থেকে এই লিরিক্যাল ব্যালাডটা বা লিরিক্যাল ব্যালাড যেটা সেটা প্রকাশিত হয়, এবং রোমান্টিক পিরিয়ডটা শুরুই হয় লিরিক্যাল ব্যালাড দিয়ে, যে লিরিক্যাল ব্যালাডের মধ্যে অনেকগুলো পোয়েম ছিল, এবং লিরিক্যাল ব্যালাডের উইলিয়াম ওয়ার্ডসওয়ার্থ এবং এস টি কলেরিজের লেখা। সো বাংলা বললে মেবি ভালো হয়, কিন্তু ইংরেজিতে প্রেফার করি। ওকে, সো ওয়াটার ওয়াটার এভরিহোয়ার নট এ ড্রপ টু ড্রিঙ্ক, কোটেড ফ্রম S.T. Coleridge. So this is very important question and repeated in many exams. Water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink, quoted from S.T. Coleridge. Romanticism is mainly connected with love and beauty. এই রোমান্টিসিজমটা মূলত লাভ অ্যান্ড বিউটির থেকে কানেক্টেড। Which is known as romantic period of English literature. You see here 1798 to 1832. So that is romantic period. Which Flowing was both a poet and painter. Actually, William Blake, who was both poet and painter. The author of Songs of Innocence and of Experience was or is William Blake. William Blake is the author of Songs of Innocence and of Experience. So keep in mind, Songs of Innocence and of Experience was written by William Blake. Who among the following is not a novelist? এই নিচে থেকে যে কোনটি নভেলিস্ট নয়, উইলিয়াম ব্ল্যাক নভেলিস্ট নয়। One of the four mentioned below is not poet of romantic age. From this option below, you see William Wordsworth belonged to romantic period, P.B. Shelley belonged to romantic period or romantic age, and John Keats also belonged to romantic period. Only William Blake is not belong to romantic age. William Wordsworth is preeminently a poet of nature. William Wordsworth is preeminently a poet of nature. So keep in mind, William Wordsworth is called poet of nature. To Daffodil is a poem written by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare wrote the poem The Daffodils. In I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, the daffodils gave the poet a great deal of pleasure. In I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, the daffodil gave the poet a great deal of pleasure. William Wordsworth was contemporary of S.T. Coleridge. A William Wordsworth ছিল S.T. Coleridge's সমসাময়িক। The Solitary Reaper is a romantic poem. Solitary Reaper is a romantic poem. Wordsworth was inspired by the French Revolution. এই উইলিয়াম ওয়ার্ডসওয়ার্থ কিন্তু ফ্রেঞ্চ রেভলিউশন দ্বারা ইন্সপায়ার্ড হয়। So William Wordsworth was inspired by the French Revolution. The literary work Kubla Khan is a verse by S.T. Coleridge. ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের যে লিটারি ওয়ার্ক সেটা কুবলা খান, এটা কিন্তু এস.টি. কলোরিজের, খুবই মাথায় রাখতে হবে। এস.টি. কলোরিজের কুবলা খান এস.টি. কলোরিজ। ওকে, কুবলা খান এস.টি. কলোরিজের, কুবলা খান এস.টি. কলোরিজের। ওকে, মাথায় রাখতে হবে। সো মুভিং অন দ্য নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন, দ্যাট ইজ P.B. Shelley is known as romantic poem. P.B. Shelley, P.B. Shelley is a short form, that is the full form is Percy Bysshe Shelley, and he is a romantic poet. Who is the author of The Rime of the Ancient Mariner? The Rime of the Ancient Mariner is very important poem written by S.T. Coleridge. You see, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. So that is also written or taken from The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Keep in mind. Who was English poet addicted to opium? Obviously, S.T. Coleridge was addicted to opium because he has a disease and he had to take opium because he was ill, and doctor prescribed him opium to take regularly based on prescription. Okay, who wrote Prometheus Unbound? Prometheus Unbound was written by Shelley. The central idea of Ozymandias is that all things, both great and small, will perish. So Maybe you have read out the poem Ozymandias by Ozymandias is basically maybe P.V. Shelley. Okay, so yeah, obviously P.V. Shelley, Ozymandias, and all things both great and small will perish. So this is the central idea of Ozymandias. So all things both great and small will perish. Okay, moving on the next question. Ode to the West Wind. Ode to the West Wind was written by Shelley. Ode to the West Wind, that is repeated in many exams. So basically all of the questions has repeated in many exams. So if you watch this video carefully, I hope you will get in the you will able to answer everything in the next exam. So if you don't understand from the first sight or first watching, then you can replay the video and watch it again. I hope it will be clear to you. Okay, let's move on the next question, that is Ode to the West Wind is written by Shelley. One of the following was a romantic poet. P.B. Shelley was a romantic poet. Okay, a famous English poet who was professionally known as man of medicine. Keats was a doctor, a physician. So he was known a man of medicine. Okay, who is called the poet of beauty. Actually, a poet of beauty is, or John Keats was called or is called poet of beauty. So John Keats or Keats was called poet of beauty. Keats is called poet of beauty. Ode to Autumn was written by Keats. Ode to Autumn was written by Keats. Keats belonged to 19th century. এই Keats কিন্তু 19 শতাব্দীতে belong করে. Poet of sensuousness, John Keats. John Keats was called or is called poet of sensuousness. Ode on a Grecian urn. Who is the poet of this poem? John Keats is the poet of Ode on a Grecian urn. John Keats is primarily a poet of beauty. John Keats is primarily a poet of beauty. Who wrote Ode to a Nightingale? Keats wrote the poem Ode to a Nightingale. Who is the author of Heaven and Earth? Lord Byron is the author of Heaven and Earth. Who is sometimes called a rebel poet? Lord Byron is called rebel poet sometimes. Okay. Who wrote the poem Don Juan? Don Juan is written by Lord Byron. Don Juan was written by Lord Byron. Who is the author of Pride and Prejudice? Basically, Pride and Prejudice was written by Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice was written by Jane Austen. And Don Juan is written by Lord Byron. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Quoted from Shelley. This means P.B. Shelley. Okay. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? যদি শীত আসে তবে বসন্ত কি দূরে থাকতে পারে? সো যদি শীত আসে বসন্ত আসবে, অর্থাৎ শীতের পরেই মানে বসন্ত আসবে এরকম. Who wrote Beauty is Truth, Truth is Beauty. Actually, Beauty is Truth, Truth is Beauty. So beauty মেনশন থাকলে বুঝবেন যে মোস্ট অফ দ্য থিং কিডস হতে পারে পসিবলি. বিউটি আর ট্রুথ, এটা কিডসের অবদান. Our sweetest song are those that tell of saddest thought is quotation from Shelley's Ode to a Shylock. Our sweetest song are those that tell of a saddest thought is a quotation from Shelley's Ode to a Shylock. A thing so beauty is a joy forever was stated by John Keats. See, here is also mentioned the word beauty. So beauty is related to John Keats. Keep in mind. Nature never did betray the heart that loved her. That is taken from, or is this quotation is taken from William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth's poem. Okay. If winter comes, can spring be far behind is a line from Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. So, if winter comes, can spring be far behind is quotation from P.B. Shelley's poem Ode to the West Wind. Identify the poet of verse. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought by P.B. Shelley. Poet or unacknowledged legislator of the world. Who told this or who said this? Shelley. Shelley told that poet are unacknowledged legislator of the world. Who was a poet laureate? Actually, William Wordsworth is a poet laureate. Keep in mind, this is also very important. Actually, most of from this video, most of the questions are very important, and most of the times it has been repeated. And so, watch the video carefully, and if you don't understand first time, then replay the video and watch it again, and it will be memorized to you. Okay. So, poet laureate was William Wordsworth. Now, who is called the poet of beauty? Obviously it is beauty, as this is mentioned, poet of beauty, so obviously John Keats. Who wrote Biographia Literaria? S.T. Coleridge wrote Biographia Literaria. P.B. Shelley's Adonis is an elegy on the death of John Keats. Adonis is an elegy on the death of John Keats. When John Keats died, P.B. Shelley wrote an elegy, that is Adonis. Okay. So on the death of John Keats, P.B. Shelley wrote Adonis. Okay, that is an elegy. So the comparison of unlike things using the words like or as is known to be simile. So at the starting of the video I mentioned that when something is compared with as, like, or as, that is simile. So you see this question here. Okay, Ode on Immortality is written by Wordsworth. Ode on Immortality is written by Wordsworth. Okay. David Copperfield is an Victorian novel. David Copperfield is an Victorian novel. Actually, is a hobe eta, not an. Okay, David Copperfield is a Victorian novel. London town is found a living being in the work of Charles Dickens. So London town is found a living being in the work of Charles Dickens. Okay. Who wrote Patriotism? Sir Walter Scott wrote Patriotism. Who excels in dramatic monologue? Actually, dramatic monologue was excelled by Robert Browning. Who wrote the book Ivanhoe? Ivanhoe was written by Sir Walter Scott. In which century was the Victorian period? Victorian period was in 19th century. So keep in mind, Victorian period was in 19th century. Okay, the Victorian age is named after the Queen Victoria. So this age is named by or named after Queen Victoria. Tennyson's In Memoriam is an elegy. In Memoriam is an elegy written by Tennyson, Alfred Tennyson. Okay, who wrote the poem Ulysses? See here, Ulysses, Ulysses. Ulysses was written by Alfred Tennyson. Which of the following ages in English history is the latest? The Victorian is the latest of English history from this section. From these three options, only Victorian is latest. Okay. Which of the greatest novelists in the Victorian period? Charles Dickens is the greatest novelist of Victorian age. The poem The Patriot is written by Robert Browning. The Patriot is a poem written by Robert Browning. The Scholar Gypsy wrote by this will be written by. The Scholar Gypsy was written by Matthew Arnold. Okay, Matthew Arnold belongs to Victoria age. Matthew Arnold belongs to Victorian age. Who is the author of novel Three Musketeers? Alexander Dumas was the author of the novel Three Musketeers. Okay, so Vanity Fair is a novel. Vanity Fair is a novel by Thackeray. The writer of David Copperfield is Charles Dickens. সেই ডেভিড কপারফিল্ড এর লেখক হচ্ছে চার্লস ডিকেন্স। ওকে, who wrote the two famous novels David Copperfield and Tale of Two Cities? Charles Dickens wrote the two novels. One is David Copperfield and the other is A Tale of Two Cities. So A Tale of Two Cities and David Copperfield was written by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens was a great novelist. One of the four mentioned below is not a novelist of modern age in English language. Who is he? Charles Dickens is not from modern age. Okay. Who is the author of the book War and Peace? Leo Tolstoy is the author of War and Peace. The central idea of Under the Greenwood Tree is that life is nature, is simple and free. The central idea of Under the Greenwood Tree is that life in nature is simple and free. So জীবনটা এটা হচ্ছে মানেটা এরকম যে প্রকৃতির মাঝে জীবনটা হয় স্বাধীন এবং মানে সাধারণ এবং স্বাধীন। প্রকৃতির মাঝে জীবনটা হয় সাধারণ এবং স্বাধীন। এটা কোথায় থেকে? এটা হচ্ছে আন্ডার দ্য গ্রিনউড ট্রি থেকে। ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের ক্ষেত্রে বাংলা না বলাই ভালো, কারণ এগুলো আপনার মানে বাংলা থেকে ইংরেজিটা বেশি মনে থাকবে আই থিঙ্ক। The Return of the Nature is written by Thomas Hardy. The Return of the Native is written by Thomas Hardy. Sherlock Holmes was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sherlock Holmes was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Who is the author of Arabian Nights? Sir Richard Burton is the author of Arabian Nights. Arabian Nights was written by Sir Richard Burton. Robert Browning was a Victorian poet. Okay. A song embodying religious and sacred emotion is an hymn. So hymn is something that is related to a religious song and sacred emotion. Caesar and Cleopatra, অর্থাৎ that means Caesar and Cleopatra. So the spelling will be, the pronunciation will be Caesar and Cleopatra is a play by George Bernard Shaw. So this is GB Shaw or George Bernard Shaw. Caesar and Cleopatra. Remember one thing, Antonio and Cleopatra was written by William Shakespeare. On the other hand, Caesar and Cleopatra is written by or was written by GB Shaw. So keep in mind these two are different. Antonio and Cleopatra was written by William Shakespeare. Caesar and Cleopatra was written by GB Shaw. Keep in mind. Keep in mind. Okay, so let's move on the next question. Who among the following is a dramatist? GB Shaw or George Bernard Shaw is a dramatist or was a dramatist. Okay, George Bernard Shaw is a playwright, nattokar. Okay, who is the author of the drama Joan of Arc? Joan of Arc was written by GB Shaw. Okay, Man and Superman is written by GB Shaw. Man and Superman was written by GB Shaw. The author of Routes to Freedom is Bertrand Russell. Routes to Freedom was written by Bertrand Russell. The history of World War II is written by, okay, this will be Second World War. The history of Second World War is written by Winston Churchill. The history of Second World War is written by Winston Churchill. Who wrote the short story Gift of the Maggie? O. Henry. The Gift of the Maggie was written by O. Henry. Who was the greatest modern American short story writer? O. Henry was modern American short story writer. O. Henry was the greatest modern American short story writer. Who wrote the introduction to Rabindranath Tagore Songs Offerings? Actually, the Song Offerings was written by William. The Songs Offerings was written by Rabindranath Tagore, but the introduction, but only the introduction was written by W.B. Yeats. Keep in mind, Rabindranath Tagore wrote Gitanjali and he himself translated it into English, named as Songs Offerings, but the introduction of the Songs Offerings was written by W.B. Yeats. Only the introduction, not the whole translation. The whole translation was written by Rabindranath Tagore, but only the introduction was written by W.B. Yeats. Famous Irish poet and dramatist is W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats was an Irish poet and dramatist. Again, William Butler Yeats. W.B. Yeats is a short form of William Butler Yeats, and William Butler Yeats is an Irish poet and dramatist. The Sacred Flame is written by Somerset Maugham. The Sacred Flame is written by Somerset Maugham. Dramatic monologue belongs to poem. Dramatic monologue belongs to poem. What was the real name of the great American short story writer O. Henry? Actually, uh, the real name of O. Henry was William Sidney Porter. So O. Henry may be a disguised name of William Sidney Porter. So keep in mind, William Sidney Porter is a real name and O. Henry is a disguised name. Some poet and writer obviously disguised and or accept the disguised and write something on literature. Okay, one of the four mentioned below is not a novel of Victorian age. Actually, James Joyce is not a novelist of Victorian age. So as this four option, you see, Charles Dickens is from Victorian age, Charles Dickens is from Victorian age, George Eliot from Victorian age, Thomas Hardy also from Victorian age. Only James Joyce is not from Victorian age. To the Lighthouse is written by Virginia Woolf. See, this is important. To the Lighthouse is written by Virginia Woolf. The Rainbow is written by D.H. Lawrence. So D.H. Lawrence wrote The Rainbow. Keep in mind, D.H. Lawrence wrote The Rainbow. G.B. Shaw was contemporary of W.B. Yeats. The literary work The Wasteland is written by T.S. Eliot. Wasteland is written by T.S. Eliot. The Murder in the Cathedral is written by T.S. Eliot. Who is the famous for theory of objective correlative? T.S. Eliot. Objective correlative is famous for the theory of T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot is a modern poet. T.S. Eliot is a modern poet. The Good Earth has been written by Pearl S. Buck. The Good Earth has been written by Pearl S. Buck. Who is the author of From Home? This will be From Home the Bell Tolls. The Cloud is written by P.B. Shelley. The Cloud is written by P.B. Shelley. What is an epic? Epic is a long poem or long narrative poem. Okay. A fantasy is an imaginary story. See, you see, when someone says, "I have a fantasy," so this is imaginative story, that something he wants to have, like that. Okay, blank verse is a kind of having no rhyming end. Blank verse is a kind of verse having no rhyme end. A drama is a magical performance of the stage. A drama is an magical performance on the stage. Which word does not relate to laureate? Demagogue. Sorry, this is related to literature. Which word does not relate to literature? Actually, যে কোনটা লিটারেচারের সাথে ম্যাচ করে, মানে লিটারেচারে বিলং করে না বা সম্পর্কিত নয়, আগে দেখতে হবে লিটারেচারের সম্পর্কিত কোনগুলা। সো ইপিলগ লিটারেচারের সাথে সম্পর্কিত, প্রোলগও সম্পর্কিত, মনোলগও সম্পর্কিত। ওকে, সো তাহলে এই 4 নাম্বারটাই সম্পর্কিত নয় লিটারেচারের সাথে লিটারেচারের সাথে সম্পর্কিত নয়, ড্যামাগোগ। Demagogue. Okay. Ernest Hemingway is the author of The Old Man and the Sea. So The Old Man and the Sea was written by Ernest Hemingway. The Birthday Party was written by Harold Peter. The Birthday Party was written by Harold Peter. Who authored the statement, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere"? Martin Luther King. So this is very practical in human life or in modern society. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if you see injustice anywhere, you will see that is the threat to justice everywhere. That will be threat to justice everywhere. So obviously injustice should be turned into justice. Who is the author of the novel The Sun Also Rises? The Sun Also Rises is written by Ernest Hemingway. Justice delayed is justice denied was stated by Gladstone. Yeah, this is also true in present times. Okay, so justice delayed is justice denied was stated by Gladstone. But I have promised to keep and miles to go before I sleep was written by Robert Frost. So Robert Frost wrote, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. Who among the following is not a recipient of the Nobel Prize in Literature? Who among the following is not a recipient of the Nobel Prize in Literature? Robert Browning, ইংরেজি সাহিত্যে নোবেল প্রাইজ গ্রহণ করেনি। তাহলে রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুর ইংরেজি সাহিত্যে নোবেল প্রাইজ পেয়েছেন, WBBS পেয়েছেন, T.S. Eliot সাহিত্যে নোবেল পুরস্কার পেয়েছেন। So from the four option A, B and D, Rabindranath Tagore got Nobel Prize, WBS got Nobel Prize, T.S. Eliot got Nobel Prize. Only Robert Browning did not got or did not is not recipient of Nobel Prize. Robert Browning. A Doll's House is written by Henrik Ibsen. Henrik Ibsen wrote A Doll's House. Very important. My Experiment with Truth was written by Mahatma Gandhi. My Experiments with Truth was written by Mahatma Gandhi. Who wrote Crime and Punishment? Dostoevsky. Okay. The Rape of Bangladesh is written by Antonio Mascarenhas. So the Rape of Bangladesh is written by Anthony Mascarenhas. Actually this is based on 1971. The author of the famous book The Judgment okay, the author of the famous book The Judgment is Kuldeep Nair. So Kuldeep Nair wrote the famous book The Judgment. Kuldeep Nair. Okay. The Asian drama is written by Gunnar Myrdal. The Asian drama is written by Gunnar Myrdal. India Wins Freedom is written by Abul Kalam Azad. This is very important. India Wins Freedom is written by Abul Kalam Azad. India Wins Freedom written by Abul Kalam Azad. Epics are divided into two types. Epics are divided into two types. The word limerick means a form of light verse. Limerick means a form of light verse. The epic Odyssey was written by Homer. The epic Odyssey was written by Homer. There is no one so poor as a wealthy miser. This is an example of paradox. There is no one so poor as a wealthy miser. Who is the author? Around the World in 80 Days, Jules Verne. Who is the author? Around the World in 80 Days, Jules Verne. Phoenix is a mythical bird regenerating from ashes. Phoenix is a mythical bird regenerating from ashes. A mournful poem written on the death of someone loved and lost. Elegy. A mournful poem written on the death of someone loved and lost. Elegy. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is written by J.K. Rowling. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is written by J.K. Rowling. Iliad by Homer is written by Homer's Iliad is an epic, and the epic by Homer is Iliad. So the question can be in various way. You have to be careful. Homer's Iliad is an epic, or the epic, which is the epic from below. This can be Homer's Iliad. Okay. Mending Wall is written by Robert Frost. Mending Wall is written by Robert Frost. What is the salient feature of all literatures? Artistic quality. What is the salient features of all literatures? What is the salient feature of all literatures? Artistic quality. What is the salient feature of all literatures? Artistic quality. Author of the Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde. The author of the Picture of Dorian Gray is Oscar Wilde. The author of the Picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde. Who wrote the book Cancer World? Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Solzhenitsyn. Okay. Who wrote the book Cancer World? Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Okay. Who is the author of the Jungle Book? Rudyard Kipling is the author of Jungle Book. A Passage to India is written by E.M. Forster. A Passage to India is written by E.M. Forster. Who is the author of the drama You Never Can Tell? This is the drama written by George Bernard Shaw. A Brief History of Time is written by Stephen Hawking. A Brief History of Time is written by Stephen Hawking. The End of History and the Last Man is written by Francis Fukuyama. The End of History and the Last Man is written by Francis Fukuyama. Author of The Time Machine is H.G. Wells. Author of The Time Machine. The Time Machine is written by H.G. Wells. Uncle Tom's Cabin is written by M.S. Harriet Stowe. Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin is written by Mrs. Harriet Stowe. Time. Time, You Old Gypsy Man is written by Ralph Hodgson. Time, You Old Gypsy Man is written by Ralph Hodgson. Of the following, who is the most translated author of the world? B.I. Lenin is the most translated author of the world. B.I. Lenin, most translated. Who is the writer of the critical work Aspects of Novel? E.M. Forster is the writer of Aspect of Novel. Debut means first appearance. So, debut means first appearance. Someone who writes play is a playwright. Keep in mind, in playwright you see the spelling is Playwright, playwright. So don't be confused. You see playwright. You see playwright here, but this is not correct. So playwright, Playwright, this is the right option. A work which has a meaning behind the surface meaning is an allegory. A work which has a meaning behind the surface meaning is allegory. So in allegory you will see something, a surface meaning and inner meaning. So behind the surface meaning you will see an inner meaning or inner something, that is allegory. Writing one's own life story is known as autobiography. It's something like that. If a writer writes his own biography, that is autobiography. And biography, in biography, someone writes his biography, someone writes others' biography, so that is biography. So in autobiography, someone, the writer writes his own life, and in biography, someone writes about others' life. Okay, I hope you get that. Okay, protagonist indicates the leading character or the actor in a play. What is sonnet? Sonnet is a poem of 14 lines. What is the meaning of the word dirge? A song expressing grief, lamentation, and mourning. Okay. What is the meaning of the word euphemism? Euphemism is something to say in inoffensive expression. So instead of saying তোমার বাবা মারা গেছে, you can say আপনার বাবা আর বেঁচে নেই, বা আপনার বাবা আমাদের মাঝে নেই, তিনি চলে গেছেন। সো এইভাবে আমরা ইনঅফেন্সিভ ওয়েতে বলতে পারি। সো কোনো ইউফেমিজমটা হচ্ছে আপনার কোনো কঠিন জিনিসকে অন্যভাবে একটু মৃদুভাবে বলা, মানে কষ্টটা যাতে কম মনে হয়। যেমন আপনার বাবা মারা গেছে, সো এটা না বলে বলা যায় যে তিনি আর আমাদের মাঝে নেই, বা আপনার বাবা আর আমাদের মাঝে নেই। সো এইভাবে বলা যেতে পারে, বা তিনি চলে গেছেন সেভাবে বলা যেতে পারে ইনঅফেন্সিভ ওয়ে, সেটাকে বলে ইউফেমিজম। If a part of a speech or writing breaks the theme, it is called digression. Allegorical means having symbolic meaning. The play Candida is written by G.B. Shaw. The climax of a plot is what happens at the head. Which of the following books is written by Thomas Hardy? The Return of the Native is written by Thomas Hardy. Man is a political animal. Who said this? Aristotle said this, that man is a political animal. A Passage to India is written by E.M. Forster. Who is the following writers was a novelist? Was not a novelist. W.B. Yeats was a poet, not novelist. Jaron Shawn is a poem by T.S. Eliot. Jaron Shawn is a poem by T.S. Eliot. The repetition of the beginning consonant sound is known as alliteration. So when you see in a poem or writings there is a consonant sound repetition at the beginning of each word, then this will be, or is paragraph, you will see the beginning consonant sound, the repetition of beginning consonant sound is called alliteration. So if you see somewhere the consonant sound is repeated after a certain period, then that is alliteration. Or in each word you see consonant sound, that will be alliteration. What is a funny poem of 5 lines called limerick? So if you see a funny poem of 5 lines, that is called limerick. So limerick is a funny poem that has 5 lines. Okay. A prologue is an introduction to a play or literary work. Actually, prologue is a prologue is an introduction to a play or literary work. So prologue means an introduction to a play or literary work. So prologue means an introduction of play or literary work. Okay. A long speech by one actor in a play or movie is called monologue. So a long speech by one actor in a play or movie is called monologue. What is trimester? A line of a poem consisting of 3 feet. What is trimester? A line of a poem consisting of 3 feet. A dirge is a song to be sung at funerals. A dirge is a song to be sung at funerals. A story with animal as the main characters and a moral is called a fable. A story with animals as the main characters and a moral is called a fable. Myth means the story of an ancient history. Poetic license means freedom to change the normal rules of language. Poetic license means freedom to change the normal rules of language. Ernest Hemingway is a famous American novelist. Ernest Hemingway is a famous American novelist. The only medium of literature is language. Virginia Woolf was a contemporary James Joyce. So James Joyce was contemporary of Virginia Woolf. A senator and a poet who won the Nobel Prize for Literature was W.B. Yeats. A senator and a poet who won the Nobel Prize for Literature was W.B. Yeats. The book Glimpses of World History was written by Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru. This is also important. The book Glimpse of the World History was written by Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru. The elegy Lycidas was written by Milton. The elegy Lycidas was written by Milton. Who authored the segment "The Government is Best," which governs list? Henry David Thoreau. Who authored the statement "The government is the best," which governs list? Paradox is a state which is apparently self-contradictory. So keep in mind, in paradox there will be self-contradictory statement. Okay. A climax is a critics in a drama. So a climax is a crisis in a drama. Climax is a crisis in a drama or ending. Climax is a critics in a drama, crisis in a drama. Written in March is a poem composed by William Wordsworth. Written in March is a poem composed by William Wordsworth. A funny imitation of a poem is parody. A funny imitation of a poem is parody. Parody means a funny imitation of poem. Okay, so that's all for today. If you have any question, you can put comments below and ask me. Obviously I will try to reply there. And If you want to get videos like this regularly, so obviously you have to subscribe my YouTube channel, and obviously you have to follow my Facebook page, and obviously and surely you will be benefited from this video and from the others videos too. So I request you to subscribe my YouTube channel and Facebook page to follow. So best of luck. Keep watching my channel and Facebook page. I hope you will get lots of videos like this, and this is very important from the book of BCS preliminary analysis that has been written by Gazi Mizanur Rahman sir, and these questions are very important and most repeated questions in different exams. So if you don't understand first time watching, so replay the video, watch again, and I hope you will be benefited a lot. So bye bye for now. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.